Hey, today we're going to be going over a One Piece deck profile. We're going to be going over Green Purple Luffy. We're going to be going over my card choices as well as kind of how I would play it in the OP13 and OP14 metagame. So hope you guys like this video. Stay tuned and I'll catch you guys real quick. So before we begin, I just wanted to say, if you haven't checked out my Marnie's Grimmsnarl deck and the interesting way I would play that deck, please check the video out. It should be in either the pinned comments in the description below or at the end card. It is a pretty interesting take that I did for Marnie's Grimmsnarl because I wanted to go a bit of a different route with the deck, because instead of focusing on spreading damage counters, I wanted to make the deck a little bit more toolboxy and focus on capitalizing on we literally wheedling down my opponent's Pokemons, both active and bench, to the point where I can take easy KOs, while also taking advantage of Pidgeot's ability to search for specific resources that I need during that turn in order to basically close the game. So right now, currently, I am for One Piece, I am playing mostly Green Purple Luffy. I do have the Ace deck. I also have Emu. I have the Emu deck, as well as the Zoro deck, but at the moment I just want to showcase what I've been playing right now most of the time, which is GP Luffy, Zoro, Yamato, and Ace. So if you guys are not familiar with GP Luffy, I'll explain the effect. Let me see if I can get the camera to focus in. Pardon. So what it does is, so long as all of your boards are Straw Hat, all the characters on your board are Straw Hat, you get to activate main, return 2 Dawn to your Dawn deck, restand 2 of your rested Dawn, and then this leader gets plus 1k. So this pairs with, if you remember, EB02 gave us the Sanji Pudding, which has the ability, if 2 or more Dawn is sent back into the deck, you get to ramp 1 for each copy. So you're basically ramping and restanding Dawn using both the leader effect and the Sanji in order to play more characters onto the board, as well as using Dawn for both offensively and defensively in order to chip away at your opponent and win the game. Like, this deck focuses on basically setting up swinging wide with multiple characters in order to whittle down their life and close the game out. And you defensively protect yourself using the effect of the Luffy to restand your rested Dawn, and it gains 6,000 as a side effect. So it's not 6,000, it gains 1,000 cross turn, so it becomes a 6k base during your opponent's turn. And you usually want to unleash this when you hit about 5 Dawn. So in the early stages of the game, you're trying to just maintain advantage, you're searching for your Sanji Puddings and searching for your high power attackers that are either utility or just increasing the instances of attack. So you're just searching through your deck in order to get through all your key pieces and closing out by just swinging wide. And I like the deck because it's very consistent. This deck has about, at the bare minimum, 12 searchers. But this build, I play, I think, 16 searchers. And you'll see it when we go through the deck. So without further ado, let's get on to the deck, actually. So we're going to start off with the 1 cost. So we're playing 4 copies of the 1 cost Nami. If you guys are, it's just basically the same thing as the red Nami, that your generic top 5 search for a traded characters. So for this one, it's a top 5 search for a Straw Hat character, and then add it to your hand. And you cannot add the Nami, which is important because not only do we have this Nami to help us search, but we also have the new one from PRB 02, which is the another top 4 check Nami. So it's the same effect, but it's a 2 cost with the trigger ability. If you trigger it from damage, you can play it and then just top 4 check again, top 5 check. So they're just basically 2 instances of top 5 check, and it gets you any Straw Hat character other than Nami. So like this is your main one of your main consistency engines early game. Another pseudo searcher that I'm running. Normally we would play multiple copies of the one cost event, which is, let me see if I have it here. This one, when you're at sea against pirates. But from what I've seen in Japan lists, they're starting to slim this down, and I can understand why, because you can't search this event with all your cards because it's a land of Wano. So oftentimes you're not using this at all. So I find myself like not really needing it. So I actually cut it from the list and instead decided to play, which does a similar effect, 4 copies of the Nico Robin blocker. So what the Nico Robin blocker does is on KO, you -1 Dawn, and then check up to top 3 cards of your deck, add a Straw Hat Pirates, and add it to your hand and put the rest to the bottom of your deck in any order. So this is essentially the 1 cost event, except it's a blocker, which allows you to survive another attack that you can use throughout the game. So it's both a utility card as well as a defensive option when you're going up against like stubborn lanes. And then we're also playing 4 copies of the Usohachi, your generic 2K counter. And you can rest a cost 5 if you have 8 Dawn or more. But we're mainly just using this as a 2K counter. And then our last searcher of the deck, which is a 4 cost, we play 4 copies of the Zoro Juro, which searches for your deck, searches the top 5 for a purple Straw Hat Pirate card and adds it to your hand, and then you place the rest to the bottom of your deck in any order. So we have not 1, 2, 3, 4 different types of searchers, 4 copies, so that's 16 searchers. So this deck is like really good at just thinning through and getting whatever you need in order to successfully carry out your end game. And this is part of like, and since this is a 6K 4 cost, it's easy to just put a Dawn under and just swing for 7 once you consistently. And if they don't answer this is just a free big attacker that your opponent has to constantly guard. And another Zoro card that we're playing right now, and this is from OP13, is the 4 cost Zoro, which has the ability on play restand 2 Dawn. So it essentially becomes a 2 cost, and that it also has the nice ability that if you decided to attack with this, you can restand it at the end of your turn. So it's easily just an easy put 2 Dawn, swing for 5, and then restand at the end of your turn, and then this prevents it from being targeted down from attack. So it's a really strong offensive 4K that you can play that also has the utility of extending your Dawn plays by restanding 2. So it's a really strong card, and it allows me to just overall just capitalize on my card advantage. And then the main stay for your deck, 4 copies of the Sanji Pudding. So when this card comes into play, if you have equal or less Dawn than your opponent, you can draw a card. So this card, you basically get to utilize it for its first effect, which is when 2 or more Dawn get returned to the Dawn deck, you get to add 1 Dawn from the Dawn deck active. So essentially you're using it to reset the Dawn that you minus off of the leader effect in order to essentially extend your plays as well as buff the Luffy by 1K. And if you have multiples out, you essentially negate the minus Dawn, and if you have more than 2, basically your goal is to have at least a minimum 2 per game on the board. If you can get 3 or more, you essentially just plus Dawn for free and basically extend your plays throughout the turn and swarm the board, as well as whittling down your opponent's advantage. But you're mainly using the resetted Dawn to either swarm the board or increase the attacking strength of your lanes in order to successfully like just end the game. So we play 4 copies of the Sanji Pudding. I play 4 copies of the Franosuke. My reasoning behind it is it's a free rusher that you can play off the cuff if you need to, like just have a quick, if you're trying to close the game down as quickly as possible. And it's also a 2k counter. That's one of the biggest things I realized when playing this deck, is having a lot of 2k counters is really helpful, especially when your leader becomes a 6k cross turn. So it makes guarding a lot easier. So I play 4 copies of the Franosuke. Once we get the other cards from EV03, as well as in the... Is it EV03 or EV04? EV03, whichever EV03 and OP14. This deck, I may consider cutting this down or just completely getting rid of it. But it's a budget option, because I know you have option to the Zoro blocker. That's also 2k counter. But if you don't have the money and you're trying to extend your funds, I think this is just an acceptable budget 2k counter, honestly. And it's a rusher, so it helps you kind of rush down your opponent and help you close the game if you need it in fringe cases. And then obviously 4 copies of the Sanji, which is also a 2k 6 cost blocker, which becomes a 3 cost if your opponent has more Dawn than you, at least 2 more than you. So that's a good consideration, good thing to consider when thinking about playing this. And then lastly, for 6 drops, we play the obligatory Luffy. This Luffy is just busted. So it already gains rush if you have 5 or more Dawn on the field, and then when you attack, you return 2 active Dawn to the deck. Restand this, and then it's an easy just like either 7k, 9k. It's usually about 7 to 10k swing depending on the number of Dawn you have active. So it's just a really useful card, and it just helps close the game out. And to assist it, we play 2 copies of the Luffy Taro from the starter deck 18. This just helps you swarm the board, and it's an AK body. You use this basically to get the Sanji Pudding out and just get free advantage off of it. And then now lastly, for our events, we play a total of 10. So I play 2 copies of the Gum Gum Jet Gatling. Your typical 3k 0 cost event. 2 copies of the Dead Man's Game, because it's really good at, you just need this when you want to just close the game out, because I hear resting 2 blockers or 2 of your opponent's active Dawn is very useful in closing out the game. And with the Luffy, you just regain 2 of the Dawn that you've rested, which is really nice. We also play 2 copies of Thunder Bagua. It's a 4k event, and if you have 2 or less life, you get to ramp a Dawn, which is really nice. And then the most broken defensive counter, Gum Gum Giant, which is essentially just a pay 1 minus 2 Dawn, discard 1, give your character or leader plus 4k, and then draw 2. It's so broken. It not only hand fix, but it just gives you really good defensive options, and you'd be stupid not to play it as a 4 of in this deck. So I hope you guys like this quick deck profile of the Green Purple Luffy. I will say, like, this, I'm not the best at this game. I'm still learning how to play this game at a higher level, but I gotta say, like, for one of the easiest decks, not easiest in general, but for me, one of the decks that I found easy to learn, only because I like combo strategies as well as mid-range, is this GP Luffy deck, because it's very combo oriented and you need to understand like your pieces, when to sequence your combos, and these combos are just high reward combos, which I like about the deck. It rewards you for playing really well and knowing how to defend and aggro. So overall, I really like this list. I will be showcasing quite a few more decks. I have quite a bit. The next probably One Piece deck I will showcase, because I know it's going to get not rotated out but power crept, is another, I guess you could say, one of the more easier decks, which is the Zoro deck. It's obviously one of the most easiest decks. So I'll showcase my list for Green Zoro before I pivot this deck into Mihawk, because I actually only built this deck, the Zoro deck, because when I saw that Mihawk was going to come right after and it's so much better and I like Mihawk as a character, I decided, you know what, I'll try out Zoro just so I can have an easy meta deck when I have to play very try-hard locals, or if I decide to play a try-hard locals before it rotates, but mainly just so I can help people test, and it's a good, easy meta deck to just pick up. And hopefully once we get once the Mihawk deck comes out, I will showcase that too, because I feel like once OP14 comes out, this deck just becomes power crept to high heaven really quickly. I will also be showcasing my ace deck. If you guys want me to do an update on Marco and what I would play in OP14, please comment below. But I appreciate you guys checking out this channel, for especially if you like watching One Piece, White Shorts, and Pokemon content. Please continue to do that. If you want to see how a person who plays multiple games kind of just learns and navigates that space in order to be decently competitive. I would say I'm more competitive on Pokemon and Weiss, and this is kind of where I'm trying to get competitive into One Piece, because it's a really fun game. But we'll see. Like, I'll see if I can also do some matches for One Piece so you guys can see how I play the deck, and who knows, you guys can either roast me on my takes or even just overall give me advice, some of your thoughts and advice. Please comment below if you have any suggestions for this deck, because again, I'm not a 100% knowledgeable in One Piece. I just happen to understand data, trends, and I would say I'm pretty solid at deck building when it comes to looking at building for consistency. But if you guys have better suggestions to help me improve, I welcome that. This channel is all about competitive trading card games, so I like to foster good dialogue. So I hope you guys like this video. Don't forget to rate, comment, subscribe. Also crack that like button, and don't forget to stay on point, guys. Peace out.